The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
These videos are satiric reviews. You don't have to agree, but don't bitch about it.
I hate this channel.
Hey, yo!
Hey there, I'm Social Justice Warrior the Infuso, and I'm here to bring you the worst members of the NWO. We've covered everyone from Eric Young to Horace Hogan last time on this list, so let's see who we missed out on and who the NWO should have passed on. I'm going to give another honorable mention to the Pope. No, not that guy. D'Angelo De Niro. I like Elijah Burke. I think he's unfortunately underrated. He's a guy who was good in the ring and charismatic on the mic, and I appreciated that. But when TNA created their own NWO Wolfpack minus the NWO, which was terrible on its best day, why on earth would they include the former leader of the new breed? The guy's talented, yeah, but never felt like the right fit for this group. It also seems strange seeing him wrestle alongside the much older Sting and Nash. Another honorable mention goes to Bubba the Love Sponge, who... Just no. The controversial radio host served as the band's personal interviewer. The band, once again, being TNA's incarnation of the NWO. Bubba didn't do a hell of a whole lot, and didn't even bring his signature in-your-face attitude to this role. He just kind of stood there and held a microphone, and TNA was like, "You guys know who this is, right? Right? Please. We're scraping by for some relevance." Overall, his run with the company has to be looked back on Hogan helping his buddies out, and that becomes even more cringeworthy because we all know the. So from one Bubba to another, as we talk about the Big Boss Man's brief tenure in the group as Big Bubba Rogers. Boss Man joined the team, got knocked out, was let go from the group. That's his entire run. You're not missing anything. It was short and meaningless, but still it just seems odd in the grand scheme of things. He didn't really fit their image, and that's probably why he didn't last long. My guess would be like, oh yeah, former WWF guy, yeah, throw the black and white colors on him. This would be great. And then all of a sudden, like backstage, somebody's like, no, why did we do that? Take the colors off him immediately. Rick Steiner. I've had arguments with multiple people over the subject who insist I don't know what I'm talking about because it wasn't Rick who was in the NWO, it was Scott. Actually, it was both of them. Rick's time in the group is so forgotten that it's even hard to find anything on the subject on the internet, which I totally understand why some people might believe it to be false. But it's not. It's true. Rick Steiner would join his brother in the NWO, donning a more biker-esque look to help the dog-faced gremlin seemingly fit in with his new colleagues. His time was pretty forgettable, obviously, and that's really all you could say about it. It's weird that the NWO reinvented Scott, but couldn't do a thing for Rick. Which is sad because they're both really talented. Bret Hart. No, I'm not putting Bret on here due to my personal feelings about the guy from when I was 8. I'm actually a fan of his in-ring work, and I think that he's one of the greatest to ever grace a wrestling ring. With that being said, Bret Hart as a character was almost always a beloved babyface, outside of a WWF feud between Canada and the US, which in Canada, he was still seen as a babyface, so he was never really a fully fledged heel. So it made little sense to add him to the very heel stable of the original NWO. Even if he was just considered an associate, it was the wrong call. Why would Bret Hart associate himself with the NWO? Especially after he tried to give Sting the victory at Starrcade.
Now think about that. That does not make sense.
Especially after coming off the Montreal Screwjob, fans felt sympathetic for Bret. He should have been booked as a pure babyface for years to come. So if his initial time in the group wasn't bad enough, he was later given the role of leader of the NWO 2000, and that just especially didn't sit right with anyone. Bret always seemed out of place, Mostly for the same reason that Lex Luger felt out of place. The NWO was cool, these guys weren't. These guys were the type to sit you down and talk to you about life advice, not hang out and share a beer with. Vincent. Poor Virgil's whole career has been made off of rips. He was hired by the WWF and given the name Virgil to mock WCW booker Dusty Rhodes, real name Virgil, and then hired by WCW to mock WWF owner Vince McMahon by being named Vincent. He'd also later change his name to Shane. Because of course he would. Vincent was just a part of the background. He was another body in the brand. Another guy to stand around wearing the NWO shirt. He was named the group's bodyguard despite being smaller than everyone else in the faction outside of X-Pac. And he didn't do much of anything. He barely wrestled, only having one pay-per-view match ever against Stevie Ray. Vincent would of course become a member of the B-Team because he sucked. His only real reasons for being associated with the brand is because Ted DiBiase was, and for the initial pop the audience would give for his arrival in WCW. A pop which never actually came. Jeff Jarrett. The NWO 2000 was a disaster from the start. Bret was a poor replacement for Hulk Hogan. And while they did have the Outsiders and Scott Steiner, they also had guys like Jeff Jarrett and the Harris brothers filling out the additional roles on the team. Truth be told, Jarrett wasn't the worst option for the group, but he was, however, a terrible choice to run the faction when Bret Hart went down with a career-ending injury. Whereas Kevin Nash was one of the main components of the original NWO, and even led the NWO Wolfpack, why would you not give that role to him? Now he's playing second fiddle to Jeff Jarrett? Who believed that? Not me. Wasn't me. Jarrett always seemed over his head, and like his entire run in WCW, he was given too much too soon. Never really built him up properly. They just threw things at him and said people were going to accept it. And you know what? They never did. Stevie Ray. It's amazing how great the team of Harlem Heat, Booker T and Stevie Ray were. It's even more amazing that each of them were awful additions to the NWO. To Stevie's credit, it did seem like he tried, but he never really matched the intensity of the rest of the team and didn't really have the charisma to make his time with the group work. For all of his efforts, Stevie was relegated to the background and eventually was sent to lead the NWO B team, which in of itself still seems like a bad choice. I know the NWO B team were the outcasts of the NWO Elite, but still, why Stevie Ray to lead the team? Why not give that role to a loyal NWO name who has a proven track record of character work and success? Why not Kurt Hennig? Or hell, even Kona Crush? Stevie was great with Booker, but apart, he just never really found his own way. VK Wall Street. You know who I think of when I think of a team of rebellious invaders? I think IRS. All due respect to the man behind the gimmick, he's seen success that I never will, but he was a terrible choice for NWO. Not only did he not fit the group's image or agenda, but he also never seemed to be enjoying himself while he was part of the faction. What did his time with the group really do for either party? Outside of getting to see Mike Rotunda wear sunglasses indoors. Oh, that's a good look, dude. That's a good look. You're wearing sunglasses now? That's a dude. That's a dude right there. Michael or VK Wall Street, depending on what day of the week it was, didn't do anything for the group besides make them feel too inclusive of former WWF stars.
What were they thinking?
In the NWO documentary the WWE put out, Hogan makes a comment saying the NWO was so big that you could slap the NWO logo and colors on anyone and turn them into a star overnight. Mike Rotunda is proof that that wasn't always the case. And my final name for this portion of the list, Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes is a legend, an icon that will rightfully so be remembered for decades to come as one of the greatest of all time. And the words he spoke will echo forever in the annals of wrestling history. What's less classic and fondly remembered was his time in the NWO, turning on Larry Zbyszko just to seemingly shock the crowd. This was one of those things that really didn't have a payoff in mind, it just short-term booking, shock factor. Following this, he'd act as Scott Hall's temporary manager and would serve as the NWO's heel commentator. But that's about it. And also, if anybody knows Dusty, for as great of a talker as he was, when it came to commentating matches, not so great. Surprisingly, not so great. Dusty was never going to be good for this group. And that should have been obvious. The man never thrived as a heel, but as a beloved underdog babyface. Sure, it worked for Hogan, but that's because the fans were actively turning their backs on him. No one wanted to do that to good old Dusty. That man is a national treasure and an American dream. So those were my picks for some of the worst members of NWO. But you know something? I don't think we covered them all just yet. I think we can list just a few more. So let me know in the comments who you feel I forgot. And don't forget to tune in into the final installment of the worst members of the NWO.
Well, let me tell you something, brother. You're watching the Social Injustice Warrior V Infuso's channel, dude. So if you like the words that came out of his mouth hole, and you too want to become a V-tard, don't forget to like and subscribe, and click that little bell icon to get updates and notifications. Ooh, tell him what up, Mach. Ooh, yeah. Follow the man on Twitter, yeah, because we all know it's not stalking if it's on the internet, yeah. Join the madness by joining the Discord, and if you have a moment of time and a free $1 to spare, head over to the SIJW's Patreon, dig it, where you can request videos, get exclusive videos, and early access to content, yeah. Or go down to PayPal, where you can buy the shirts, brother. But most importantly, just remember, if you're not tuning in, then you're missing out.